Hi, welcome to the newest Ask Me About My Draculas, where we explain supernatural books, movies, and TV shows. I am one of your hosts, Kel McDonald, and I write comics you can find at kelmcdonald.com.
And I'm your other host, Ma'at Crook, and I write stuff and I draw stuff. And you can find me on Twitter at Ma'at Crook.
And our guest is...
Hi, I'm Jose Pimienta, or Joe Pi as I tend to go by, and I am currently working on a book for Dark Horse, and I also do freelancing commercial storyboards for either commercials or visual development for film.
So this week we're going to talk about the movie Vampire in Brooklyn. Ma and Joe, you both haven't seen it, so... Ma, what do you think it's about? And then Joe, you tell us what you think it's about.
Okay.
Well, I think it's Eddie Murphy being a vampire, but if I had not seen the posters and the trailers back in the day when it had come out, and just heard the title, I might think that it was a poor vampire who woke up someday in the future in Brooklyn and had to wander around and figure that place out.
Now, because you have seen the poster and you know Eddie Murphy's in it,
Yes.
What do you think it is based on the fact that Eddie Murphy is in it?
Oh, geez.
For people that don't know, this is the movie poster.
So the movie poster makes it look romantic, but because it's Eddie Murphy, and I was pretty sick of fat jokes in a lot of his movies, I think that's probably why I didn't watch it. So I think I assumed there would be maybe some fat jokes in it.
All right. Joe, what do you think Vampire in Brooklyn's about?
I mean, I've only ever seen the poster. I've never seen any trailers. I've never even heard any like what it's about. Like I've only ever seen the posters probably since back in the day when we had video stores for rentals, and that poster was around. And from the looks of it, to me it looks like, I'm going to guess that Eddie Murphy is the king of the vampires in Brooklyn, and I'm going to assume that maybe his time has come to a halt and he has to find a way to maintain his power somehow. Like, there's probably some kind of threat, and it has something to do with Angela Bassett's character. And like, I don't know, I'm going to guess maybe there's some prophecy involved. I don't know, like it looked as if it was Brooklyn's version of Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's what it looked like to me. And seeing that it was Eddie Murphy, and I guess the '90s, it just kind of looked like the kind of movie where it's a serious movie, like sort of Beverly Hills Cop, or what's the other one, or the Golden Child, but with Eddie Murphy's type of humor, like again with like that he would do in Beverly Hills Cop 2 and 3. So that's what I would assume. Those are all my assumptions. Like that's.
Okay. So when this movie was made, Eddie Murphy, I looked it up because while watching it, I was like, this feels like two different movies going on at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Because parts of it are kind of the type of humor you find in standard Eddie Murphy movies of the time. And then the other half of it was like a very serious adaptation of Dracula, but with using the Caribbean instead of Transylvania as the source of vampire lore.
Okay.
So I looked it up, since the movie's sort of two movies, or it feels really uneven like that. Like they didn't mesh them together very well. And looking at behind the scenes, Eddie Murphy wanted to do a serious vampire movie.
Oh.
Studio executives said, we want Eddie Murphy to be funny, but Eddie Murphy doesn't want to be funny, so you have to trick Eddie Murphy into being funny.
Oh no.
Whew.
I actually respect Eddie Murphy more now, knowing that he wanted to make a serious vampire movie.
So yeah, he wanted this to be like one of his first more dramatic roles. Like,
Okay.
so his character as vampire, the head vampire guy, is completely played straight, and he like does some pretty creepy stuff.
Oh, wow.
There he is in his vampire makeup.
Wow, okay, that's a lot more serious than I thought.
Yeah.
So the whole movie takes a lot of like the cliff notes of Dracula
Okay.
and tries to update them. So like the movie starts with Eddie Murphy's character doing a Jamaican accent, and he does like vampires started in Africa, and then demon hunters found us, and a lot of the vampires fled to Transylvania, but then smarter vampires fled to the Caribbean because it took longer for white people to find them. And then apparently recently, all the vampires except for Eddie Murphy were killed. So he needs to find a vampire queen before the next full moon. They never tell you the consequences of him not finding a vampire queen, but that's basically the opening prologue.
Okay.
Then, so in Dracula, you know how Dracula gets into London with a boat full of dead people, and it's very, like, spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this movie has the boat full of dead people headed toward Brooklyn, but it's going much more high speed. It, like, crashes through a bunch of yachts, like, and completely destroys it, while the two guys that are supposed to be, like, watching the docks and being the guides for ships coming in are ignoring what their job and are instead watching Family
They're watching Family what?
Feud.
Oh.
So the two guys watching the dock are a dude played by I forget his name, but he's the voice of the grandpa in Boondocks.
Oh.
He's also in a lot of John Witherspoon's. He's a shit ton of stuff by the Marlon Brothers.
Okay.
So like that's him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So he's like the night security guard, and he's playing like the character that he always plays. So he's yelling at the TV, like, because people aren't playing the Family Feud right, while there's like a million boat accidents going on behind him. This is why I say it feels like two different movies, because all the scenes with this guy and his nephew, who's one of the other main characters, feels like what you were expecting, Matt. So he's watching Family Feud with his nephew, and when the boat finally crashes into their security office, the older character, John Witherspoon's character, is like, well, we need to check this out, and his nephew is like, nah, I'm out. So John Witherspoon's character finds all the dead bodies on the boat, and then sees a wolf, but he drops his glasses, so he doesn't see the wolf change into a human shape that we can't see.
Oh, okay.
And then he finds his glasses and is like, now there's a guy there. That's weird.
Is it Eddie Murphy?
It is Eddie Murphy. We find out later. So Eddie Murphy, as the vampire, then follows the shitty nephew that ditched his uncle, and he's getting held up by Italian mobsters that he owes money to. Eddie Murphy's character shows up, kills the Italian mobsters, and then basically turns the shitty nephew into his Renfield for the whole movie. And they call it a ghoul, and so now the shitty, like, nephew is supposed to be, like, the assistant lackey of Dracula throughout the whole rest of the movie. But he's slowly rotting, and it seems like no one is reacting to this. Like, there's a part where he loses his... Other than a few comments from his uncle that are like, where the hell did your ear go?
Yeah.
Like, that are played for laughs. Like, it seems like no one else is reacting to the fact that he's literally falling apart. Like, his hand falls off in part of the movie.
Yeah.
like some kind of leopard kind of trope kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
Or it's just decay, like zombie decay.
Like decay.
okay.
Let's see. I can find a picture. So yeah, this is him like toward halfway point in the movie.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Slowly like decaying, like his ear falls off and his hand falls off.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Even more decayed.
This is the very end of the movie.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's.
So then he gets all the exposition from Eddie Murphy's character that Eddie Murphy needs to find a particular woman in Brooklyn because she is apparently a half a vampire.
Already?
Because her mom went to research vampire lore in the Caribbean and slept with the friend of Eddie Murphy, who's now dead.
Oh.
So
The mom or the friend? Oh,
both the friend and the mom, because the mom just died.
Okay.
Okay.
She's
So
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. So she's half a vampire. That's what.
Yeah, but she doesn't know it. She just functions better at night, and that's all she knows.
Okay.
So in this world, vampires can have babies, like in Blade.
Yeah. But she doesn't have any superpowers other than she just is more of a night person. And sometimes she has weird dreams, which she then turns into paintings.
She turns into, okay, so.
Yeah, so she I had a weird dream and now I'm going to paint it. And it turns out that her dreams are prophetic.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so that's Angela Bassett's character, who we're then introduced to, and she is a cop, and her partner are supposed to investigate the boat crash. So they interview John Witherspoon's character, who rambles about how he saw the Wolfman. And her partner is like, I don't believe that crazy old man. And she's like, I believe in the supernatural because I got a funky feeling about this whole situation.
Okay.
He kind of dismisses her. They have an argument, and then he helps her get home, and her roommate super duper hits on her partner.
That's uncomfortable.
And then Eddie Murphy's character sees this going on, and he then, after the roommate gets turned down by the cop, Angela Bassett's partner, and they part ways, he goes up to the roommate and seduces her, and so she goes, and he makes it look like she ran off with the cop character's partner. So he wants to basically cause an argument between Angela Bassett's character and her cop partner.
Yeah.
Somehow he knows that she's the one he's supposed to be looking for.
Yeah, he has psychic feelings or whatever. So
he has a funky feeling, and she
they both have funky feelings.
That's plot device, right? I mean, it's like, how do you bring this character together?
They both are psychic drawn to each other.
It's a speculation, it's a hunch, and it has a supernatural argument. So.
Yeah. So Eddie Murphy's character sleeps with the roommate, then kills her, and then leaves a note like, since I guess he killed her, then he can mimic her handwriting.
Oh,
So
is that,
he, like, writes a note that's like, I found a dude that's super good at sex, so we don't want to keep you up all night, so I'm going to go to his place, and that's supposed to be, like, why she doesn't notice her roommate's gone.
oh, okay. I mean,
Um,
is she planning on coming? Like, did he thought that maybe she would have to come back at some point? I mean,
no,
does he understand how roommate situations work in Brooklyn up in that time?
thought, like, I think he basically was like, since he has a deadline of the next full moon, he was like, it's
Yeah,
close
that's
to
true.
the full moon that I'll be done with this master plan by the time someone's like, where is this girl?
And she's just straight up dead. She's not a vampire.
No, she's just straight up dead.
Oh, she's just a casualty of this horrible situation. Okay.
But one of the paintings that Angela Bassett's character made is a woman who's like tied up in bed sheets, dead. That has like the same hairstyle as her roommate. So later on, when they do find her dead, that's like your painting came true, like, because she's in the position of the bed sheet.
I mean, it's interesting that she would not realize that she painted someone that looks like her roommate, and got a bad feeling out of it. But it was like, well, it's a painting, so it doesn't matter yet.
Well,
And
it was
then,
like her face was obscured by her hair or whatever, so
okay.
it's
Yeah, but wait, isn't she a detective?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
At the very least, wouldn't she be creeped out that she would paint something like that kind of
Right.
looked like her roommate dead?
stuff like that for quite a while, so
Okay.
so she's not weirded out by her paintings being
Okay.
anymore.
So yeah, I mean, like that could just kind of look like one of those situations where it's hiding in plain sight kind of thing. Like, oh well, this happens all the time. But still, that's a little.
So then, Angela Bassett's character and her partner are called in to like talk to an expert on the Caribbean because apparently there was some weird plant that was on the crashed ship, and that's their only like hint of where the ship came from.
Okay.
So they go to this reggae bar.
Wait. What kind of boat was this, by the way?
It was a big like cargo ship.
Okay.
So it just like plowed through the harbor.
Okay. So it's a contemporary boat. It's
Yeah.
a boat of the. Okay.
So then you have the police detectives, like they go to this reggae bar and talk to this doctor who I guess owns the bar because that's why they found him there. It was really unclear as to his relationship to the bar. It was just that's his quote-unquote doctor office address, the bar. And then he's like, yeah, it's this plant that only grows in the Bermuda Triangle, and that's like, so this boat is from the Bermuda Triangle. And then the doctor says some weird stuff about vampires and like looks at the main character really like intently and creeps her the hell out. Then she goes to church because one of the things that like she keeps remembering is her horoscope said that she needed to like stay close to her faith, and because she believes in supernatural stuff, she does put stock in her horoscope. So she runs to the church because of that. And then the vampire, Eddie Murphy, kills a preacher and disguises himself as the preacher. So you get to have an Eddie Murphy black preacher bit in the middle of this vampire movie.
Is it played for comedy?
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is basically comedy in the middle of it. Then it turns into, while preaching, the Eddie Murphy can read the minds of the audience, and he starts like basically saying that everyone in the church is a sinner, and starts like basically saying out loud all their like dirty laundry.
'Cause he's psychic?
Yeah, so he's like reading people in the audience's mind and being like, that guy had a $2 hooker last night, and even though he told his wife that he was going to visit his mom, and like, so just everyone's dirty laundry. So then when the main character's partner comes up to talk to her, he claims that the cop partner slept with the roommate, and that's who the roommate ran off with to cause friction between her and her cop partner. So she's pissed at her partner and won't talk to him. Meanwhile, the nephew ghoul guy has gotten Eddie Murphy a limo. And he has had Eddie Murphy move into the shitty apartment building that his uncle owns. So there's a lot of like goofy comedy scenes between him and his uncle.
Okay.
That are sort of just there for laughs rather than to move the plot along.
Right.
So it'd be like vampire scene, detour to hang out with these two guys.
Okay.
Then Eddie Murphy. Well, then the two cops, they find out that the nephew that ran away had a run-in with the Italian gangsters, which have been found dead. So then they go to an Italian restaurant to basically, I guess, interview their mob bosses to ask, like, why were these dudes shaking down this guy for money?
Oh,
Like,
so yeah, that plot point is coming back. Like, it's...
Yeah. And then the Eddie Murphy's character finds like some really low-level Italian mob guy, eats him, and then disguises himself in that. So you get Eddie Murphy disguised as a white guy, right there.
Oh.
So he
Okay.
can do his impression of an Italian mobster again, more for laughs.
Okay.
But he uses the Italian mobster low-level guy to like attack Angela Bassett and her partner, and then also once again add more evidence and fuel to the fire about her and her partner's fight about whether or not he slept with her roommate.
Mm-hmm.
So then after they like have another fight at the police station, Angela Bassett goes home and is almost hit by a car, and Eddie Murphy saves her, and he asks her out on a date, and he is genuinely charming. He can pull that off pretty well. Him and Angela Bassett have a really good chemistry in it, so
Okay. Good.
it works out well. So they go on their date, and he offers her wine, and they dance, and then they talk about Vincent van Gogh and how Vincent van Gogh was plagued by visions no one else understood, and that's what made his paintings great. So he's kind of like trying to get into her good graces about her paintings as well.
She's the next Picasso.
Yeah, she's a diamond in the rough at the moment.
Yeah, so then while dancing, he bites her, and then her roommate is found dead, and she's like hung up on the roof of a place with the sheets of like her bed, and it looks just like the painting.
Her painting, yeah.
When he bit her, did she go ouch, or was it the whole like sexy moment thing?
It was a sexy moment thing.
Oh, there's her roommate in a sheet.
Oh, you found it?
There's a roommate, but I was trying to find the painting.
Yeah, that's. I was gonna start looking for that, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, so there's a roommate, and so
What
then,
is she tied to?
she's tied to like the roof of, I think it was a church.
Okay, so that is like the top of a cross.
It wasn't. I don't think it was the top of a cross.
Okay.
I think it was just like a decorative thing on the roof.
But she does look like she's very Christ-like on the cross.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks a little.
So then,
So then someone got a tattoo of...
So then, her partner calls her 10 times, goes to her apartment, because he's not getting an answer, and she has slept all day. And then, like, he ends their argument about him sleeping with her roommate because, like, it seems like she's going to bring it up again, and he's like, she was found dead, and it was just like your painting, and now I believe all of your psychic vision stuff, and I'm sorry for not believing you. And then they're both distraught, and she kisses him, and they start to, like, make out, and while they're making out, she catches herself in the mirror, and her reflection is disappearing.
And her reflection is what?
Disappearing, so see,
okay, so yeah, it's
So she confronts Eddie Murphy to be like, what the fuck is going on? And he tells her that her dad was a vampire and that the doctor that owns the Caribbean reggae bar was the one that killed her father, and that it drove her mom crazy, that, like, the man she loved died, and he says some stuff about how she's destined to be his vampire queen, blah, blah, blah.
Is the thing about the doctor killing the vampires true?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because she, like, ran off, her partner tries to find her. He figures out what's going on because, the old security guard guy who...
Oh, Witherspoon.
He's like, your partner is super duper, like, trying to eat me, and vampires are around. And then they go to the Caribbean doctor to get help because he mentioned vampires during that time when they talked to him about the Bermuda Triangle moss. And so then he has a magic knife that is the only thing that can kill Eddie Murphy.
Cheers.
And Angela Bassett's character can be turned back into a human as long as they kill Eddie Murphy before she feeds off an innocent person. So they go attack Eddie Murphy. There's some goofy fights with the ghoul guy where his eye pops out and then they have to look for it.
Oh,
no. Then they, Eddie Murphy, like, breaks the leg of the Caribbean doctor, so the old guy and his ghoul nephew are, like, gonna bring him to the hospital while the cop finishes off his fight with Eddie Murphy. He quickly gets defeated, and then it looks like Angela Bassett's gonna eat him, but instead she decides to kill Eddie Murphy herself, which makes her not a vampire, and Eddie Murphy defeated. And I guess she goes off and lives happily ever after with her partner. Then the last bit of the movie is the ghoul guy who still looks rotted and gross, and his uncle decide to take Eddie Murphy's limousine for themselves. And then the ghoul guy finds a magic ring that belonged to Eddie Murphy, and that makes him not rotted anymore, but also a vampire. Like basically fireworks happen, and he is suddenly like decked out in nice clothes and jewelry.
Oh,
Picture of him. Um, and he's going to be the new vampire in Brooklyn end movie.
That looks like the beginning of a music. Does it end with the music video? That sounds like something it kind of sounds like it should end it with something like, all right, and then just, who's driving the limo, by the way?
His uncle.
Oh, okay. So, well, it's all right. So I wasn't entirely too far off, like from
What you thought.
from what I thought, but still, it's interesting because I also just was looking at the IMDb. I mean, it's directed by Wes Craven of all people.
Right before he did Scream.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the thing I was going to point out. Like it's the last movie that he did before he did Scream, which is like his entire whole meta legacy about horror movies.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting that this was like the one that he did before that. But also, the entire movie was written by what it seems like Eddie Murphy and his crew. Like all the people that that were written for his other produced shows.
Yeah.
But also a lot of the writers are also writers that have done really bizarre sequels, like 101 Dalmatians 2, Mulan 2, Kronk's New Groove. It's an interesting team of writers they got going on there.
It's weird because it definitely feels like two different movies were mushed together, like tone-wise.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and again, this probably, how the Nutty Professor is essentially Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but with Eddie Murphy into it. This one really did. I guess it kind of is Bram Stoker's Dracula, but with Eddie Murphy on it, kind of thing. Okay, well.
Yeah, it's just interesting how like played straight all the Eddie Murphy scenes are, and then the rest of the movie is like all the scenes with Angela Bassett or Eddie Murphy are played straight, and then all the scenes where the nephew and uncle are goofing around are like a completely different movie.
That's kind of needed to have its comedic its comedic relief at some point, and then they figure, well, let's break the tension with.
But they didn't really mesh together that well, which is, I feel like, the
It
problem.
was very forced.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool that they went with like the Caribbean perspective on it. I mean, like, does it go into that kind of folklore at all? I mean, or is it just mentioned in passing?
Like, it's pretty surface stuff. Like,
Okay.
So Eddie Murphy has a Jamaican accent throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
And suddenly, the ghoul guy, once he becomes a vampire, he suddenly has a Jamaican accent.
Oh, man, that's weird. I guess if fireworks are gonna make fancy clothes appear and
he like suddenly has fancy clothes, and then he has like 2 lines talking the way he usually does, and then he suddenly has an accent.
Kind of makes you wonder if Eddie Murphy had an accent before he became the Vampire King or the vampire.
Yeah, the only vampire left.
The only vampire left. Okay, so it's not like he was the ruler or anything. He was just another vampire dude.
The only one left. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's well, cool. How are the paintings? I mean, do the paintings look good? I mean, are they good?
Find them. They're not bad.
Okay. No, that's.
I can buy that you really liked Van Gogh.
I mean, if they're gonna mention him, it might as well have some similarity. I mean, like it's good that they didn't just take it for granted and just be like, oh, okay, she just paints. They're gonna try to match it up because. So yeah, that's.
But yeah, it made a lot of sense when I read like behind the scenes where they're like, we need you to trick Eddie Murphy into being funny.
I'm assuming Eddie Murphy eventually found out about that.
I mean, I would assume so.
Right. Which I kind of wonder how he would have taken that. Because there's something. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, well, it's yeah, like it seems like yeah, like you said, they're tricking him. So
He might get upset.
yeah, like that's I kind of how he took that of just like no, I was actually trying to do something serious. Like, I was trying to do like a serious vampire movie, and here you all are, studio, trying to trick me into pigeonhole me into my other roles. Like
Yeah.
that can't feel good.
Yeah, there's an interview with him where he talks about he figured out their plan when he saw his wig because he felt like his wig was really ridiculous looking and undercutting
Okay.
the seriousness in his scenes.
Mm.
Yeah, but I guess I mean if he went through with it, I guess he.
I don't know. I don't think his wig's that bad.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I mean, especially since again, Caribbean, different different type of hair as opposed to.
Well, it is. I mean, it coming out after Bram Stoker's Dracula, it's actually pretty tame compared to. It's long, like the Bram Stoker's Dracula hairdo,
Yeah.
but they didn't give him the big silly hair.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like he didn't show up with an afro, or
And
he
it could
didn't.
also be that since it's the 90s, I thought everyone looked a little bit silly, so.
Yeah. So how did he get killed?
Because it was Angela Bassett stabbed him with the special knife.
Oh yeah,
Was it
I
a
meant to
metal
ask.
knife or a wood knife?
It was just a knife.
Huh.
Okay.
It had like a weird cross unk thing at the end, but
Did they talk about that knife like at some point before?
no, they're just like, here's a magic knife to kill him.
Okay, so
Yeah, the way you described it, the death seemed pretty abrupt.
yeah, they were like, well, we need a solution. Well,
The end.
So dramatic, like as he dies and says some things, like, but here's the thing that can kill him is kind of out of nowhere.
okay. I mean, because you would think that once the boat was coming in, like that, it would have coincidentally landed in the same place where the knife was, or because again, you can also use that whole tactic of feel the vampire psychic of having to be reaching his own demise subconsciously, kind of thing. It's maybe I don't know.
Is it the knife that the doctor used to kill all the other vampires with?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
the doctor knew Angela Bassett's mom before she went crazy.
Oh, that's why he was looking at her so weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he killed her dad, who was a
Okay.
vampire.
So her parents were actually an item for a while then.
Yes.
Wow.
The doctor says
What?
that like your mom fell to evil or whatever, but
So just out of curiosity, I mean, like, would Angela Bassett would have been able to just continue her normal life with just like some weird night owl kind of mentality had Eddie Murphy
yeah,
messed with
that
her?
was
Okay.
basically it. Like she
Okay.
would have been her
Okay.
life would have continued as usual if Eddie Murphy didn't show up.
Okay.
So she's not a vampire now.
Yeah, she is no longer a vampire. They say like her vampire side died with Eddie Murphy.
Now, did she become a cop because of her father's murder? Like, is there some kind of
No,
Okay.
they don't, because she never knew her dad, so
Okay.
she didn't know that he died, didn't know like where he was at all.
Do they address why she became a cop at all? Like, nope.
She-
Okay. All right. Oh yeah, so I mean, like there's been in some detective stories where they approach that of like, well, I became a cop because of some kind of backstory tragedy and that trope.
Like Blade became a vampire slayer.
Yeah, because of seeking for revenge kind of thing. So I've seen that one a lot, and I just kind of wondered, they went that route just because might as well, or did they like no, she just happened to be a cop and a good cop at that, a cop who paints.
Well,
Um,
she was a pretty well-rounded character.
Yeah,
Sounds like.
yeah, she was a pretty good character. Like I feel like if they had written the uncle and nephew differently, this would have been a pretty good, like, more serious movie.
Okay.
If they hadn't have gone for the comedy, it would have made it a better movie.
Yeah, well, if they had just picked one, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's...
Like, if they had pushed the comedy more, then I'm sure people that like Eddie Murphy's other comedies would have liked this one. But
Right, and, you know, well, not that it doesn't need good to speculate, but I do kind of wonder if, had they actually gone had they gone the full mile of just doing, well, let's just do an Eddie Murphy comedy, I would have just fallen into, oh, it's just an Eddie Murphy comedy, with him as a vampire, versus, because the original...
Murphy's version of Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Right, which kind of sounds like, all right, I guess we can go there. But I mean, the original Eddie Murphy idea actually sounds a whole lot better. Where like, no, let's do a serious movie with like trying to throw some actual folklore in there, and do something that is fairly dramatic. And apparently, from what it sounds like, Eddie Murphy does a well job on that.
Yeah, he does a good job whenever it's like not. Yeah, no, he does a good job overall. I think like vampire makeup at the end maybe hurt him a little bit, and it's kind of, but like he did a good job.
Okay, so that's. Well, I guess we can always just say that. Well, it's that pesky studio and those and those executives trying to go for the easy money.
What were some of the other vampire tropes that they had, or that they broke?
He couldn't deal with crosses at all.
Okay. No sunlight, no crosses.
The Caribbean expert guy was basically Dr. Van Helsing.
Okay.
Holy
water, is there holy water in there?
There isn't holy water, but he starts to burn up when he's disguised as the preacher and he enters the church, so he starts to preach on the church steps rather than inside the church.
Oh. I was wondering how all the crosses and everything were affecting him. So he was all, let's have a nice outside service.
Yeah. Let's have church outside today.
It sounds like a field day. Got another dumb question, but can salt water be blessed? Like, can someone bless salt water?
I don't know.
I'm looking it up.
Because if they can, I mean, how far does the blessing stretch? Because I mean, I've seen times where like someone blesses like a whole cup hold, like one of those things in church. I can't remember what it's called. It has a name. Where the holy water is there, and once they bless that, that's good. Or like a container, like a small container. Once that bless, that becomes holy water. But how far does that stretch? Like how far?
Joe, I'm at CatholicAnswers.com, forums.catholic.com, and someone asked, how large a container, body of holy water, can a priest bless? I'm looking for the answer.
I mean, can they go for like a whole pool? And therefore, I mean, like, and I know that it sounds kind of like, like I'm taking a jab at the belief, but I'm actually just like, as far as folklore goes, and as far as like mythology and like even as a writing tool on this one, yeah, like, could you bless the ocean? I mean, and use that, like, I mean, that way vampires could never go surfing.
Like, would the ocean eventually wear off? Like, blessing because water coming in and out?
Yeah, that's one thing I don't know. I mean, is there like, and here's a fair question: like, have those things ever been addressed?
I haven't heard.
It needs to be for sacramental use.
Okay.
So you can't just go around blessing things willy-nilly. You need to have
Okay, that's good to know.
So I guess you could bless the ocean and then throw a vampire in it but then once that one vampire's hurt, it's not blessed.
Yeah, that's not bliss anymore. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I buy that. Okay, that makes sense. Like it's means to an end. It's practical. It's it seems to have a purpose. All right.
I'm glad we answered this question.
Yes.
I
You're not the only one who wondered.
I'm glad to know that. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one with like that kind of a question. So.
But yeah, so that's Vampire in Brooklyn.
Okay. Would you consider rewatching it?
Maybe if someone else wanted to see it.
Okay. Would you recommend it to other people? I mean, is it worth other people's time?
I think it depends on how much they like the type of humor that's in Eddie Murphy movies.
Okay. All right.
I just remember at the time the market was so oversaturated with Eddie Murphy movies, and
Because it came out right before Nutty Professor.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like he was he was the Kevin Hart of the '90s.
And it was, I was reading a thing, and it was basically the failure of this movie made Eddie Murphy decide to focus on family-friendly movies. So that would be the Nutty Professor, Dr. Dolittle.
Okay.
He had done 3 Beverly Hills Cops before doing Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, and 3 are still pretty funny, and but yeah, and that's kind of what it's like. Those are the kind of movies where it's a dramatic movie, it has a serious plot, but Eddie Murphy is just such an outrageous performer that he adds the enough comedy necessary to something to break the tensions. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kel.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad now I know this. So
I'm considering watching it. It's been a long time since I've seen an Eddie Murphy movie.
does it play off well if you just have it in the background? Like, you know, if I'm just listening to it while...
Parts where you need to look up, like when the old man dropped his glasses and missed the wolf turning into a dude. Like,
okay.
I had to rewind it because I knew something happened, but I wasn't watching, so I'd...
Okay. Are there any particular things about the movie that stick out, like per se its score or the lighting in there, just like as far as film goes? Like, is there anything specific that would be like, oh, that's, you know, pretty cool makeup, you know, or
I don't know. It feels fairly standard.
okay. All right. Well, that's...
It was much, much better than Dracula Untold.
So what is up with Dracula Untold?
The Dracula Untold is supposed to be how Dracula became a vampire.
Right.
You know how there's like that 5-minute prologue at the beginning of the Keanu Reeves Dracula movie?
Yeah.
Someone decided, what if this 5-minute prologue was a whole movie?
Okay, so before you go in there, like, how do you feel about origin stories?
This one was really boring because
Okay.
I feel like everything that's in that 5-minute prologue does cover what's in the movie. There isn't
Okay.
much more to the movie. I feel like I'm not for or against those types of origin story movies as long as there's actually a story to be told rather than like, isn't it exciting that this guy's one day going to be cool?
Okay.
Because, like, I don't like the show Gotham because it keeps being, like, hinting at things that they can't actually do in the show because it's not Batman yet.
Gotcha.
Is that Tomo in it? Who is the main character?
In Dracula Untold?
Yeah.
The Hobbit.
Yeah.
He's in the Hobbit movies. I don't know what else he's in.
Oh, let's see. It's
He basically Dracula Untold he is the ruler of Transylvania and like Turks are attacking and
Luke Evans.
he finds a vampire in a cave and says, "Hey, I need power to stop all the Turks." Vampire says, "All right, you got 3 days. If you kill someone in those 3 days, you're stuck as a vampire. If you don't kill someone, then you'll turn back into a human. So you better kill all these Turks in 3 days." Then he wants to lead his people to war with the Turks, kills a whole bunch of them. Then everyone's scared of him because he has freaky, crazy powers. The Turks kill his wife, so he gets really upset and drinks an innocent person, and then he goes on a vengeance kick, and that's the end.
Yeah, even from the even from the trailer, it just kind of looked like everyone knows everyone, like, vampires are in. It's an origin story. We can throw a lot of really cool, major visual effects, which I'm sure those people work really hard. I know they do. And just take it from there. And that's about as much as I thought it had going for.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot going on in that movie. Eddie Murphy did a much better job being.
It took you like 40 minutes to describe the Eddie Murphy movie. It took you 2 minutes to describe Dracula Untold.
Right. I mean,
That's how little happens in that movie.
I'm sure it's a lot of dramatic, over-the-top
There's a
dramatic
lot of
stuff.
him jumping and then turning into bats and then not turning into bats.
Again, it's visual effects. It looks really cool. And
yeah, the pictures on the old internet, they look pretty cool. Not just because it's a lot of blues either.
It's very sure. Who's the director for this? The director is also really wow.
It's a lot of shots like this where look at him turn into bats, or look at the bats turn into him.
It's interesting. I mean, because the director is also relatively new in the quote unquote new in the game, because he only had a short film from 2006.
Wow.
And Dracula Untold, and then Dracula Untold until 2014. So he didn't have a whole lot as far as directing experience. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe he did other shorts and/or things that he's just uncredited for. I wonder who the writers were. It's straight for screenplay. Okay. The same people that wrote Gods of Egypt and The Last Witch Hunter.
Oh, no.
And the new Power Rangers movie. So
you can tell that they're a quality writing team there.
It looks like the main writer, Dracula Untold, was his first major screenplay. Has some producer experience, but not too much from what it looks of it. Burke Sheples. Did anybody see The Last Witch Hunter?
I did, and I enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, it's same writers, same writers as Dracula Untold and Gods of Egypt and the new Power Rangers movie that is coming out soon.
They just needed Vin Diesel to say, no, don't do that. Do this instead, maybe.
I guess. Yeah, no, I didn't see The Last Witch Hunter, but it's.
From what I understand, it was Vin Diesel's story.
Yeah. Okay.
Mostly. I don't know how much the writers actually put into it, but he had the idea, I think.
Oh. Did he? Cool. I mean, all right.
Yeah, I'm not convinced on the Dracula Untold. I feel like I cannot watch that, but the Vampire in Brooklyn.
But if you really need that story, you can watch the first 5 minutes of the 90s Dracula instead.
I mean, Dracula Untold looks like the kind of movie that would be watchable if you gather enough amount of friends and really throw a party.
No, it wasn't even like that, because it wasn't even funny bad. It was.
Wow.
things.
Maybe it could be in the background
Yeah.
while the party's going on. No one has to feel super invested in it.
Right. You know, it's a nice icebreaker if you're in a party and you don't know how to interact with someone and be like, so what do you think of this? This is terrible. So yeah, I mean, it could be a conversation instigator. Yeah. But you know, I'll check out Brooklyn Vampire in Brooklyn if it's something that I can have in the background and just kind of go through with kicks. Well, all right.
Well, thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone.
Laters.
Bye.